Welcome to the Rockin Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. I'm your host, Rockin Rich Lynch, inviting you to join me as we discover great new music by bands and artists from around the world. With interviews, music news and reviews, great prizes, and a whole lot more. Visit us online today at soundpress.net for great music promotion and publicity. Hi, this is Rockin Rich Lynch, and you're listening to the very best of Rockin Rich Lynch on the radio. We recently moved our operations from the New York, New Jersey market to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are now looking for a production and broadcast partner in the region to take the radio show to new heights. If you're a band, musician, solo act, or represent a musical project in any genre, please visit soundpress.net and our new site, musiccitynashville.net, to learn how we can help get your message to the world. Now, please enjoy this great interview from our archives. The man we're about to speak with was an integral part of two of Canada's greatest contributions to classic rock music. He wrote some of the greatest songs ever heard on the radio, and he's back with an all-star album called Heavy Blues. The new project is Bachman, and the legendary Randy Bachman is on the phone with us right now. Welcome, Randy. How are you?
I'm great, Rich. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, great talking to you, man. I am a big fan. I definitely was influenced by your music growing up. I want to talk about your new project, but if we could just go back in time a little bit and hit some other things along the way, I think we'll have a nice extensive thing for the listeners here.
Great.
I've been listening all morning, Randy, to the new album, the great Bachman Turner Overdrive songs. Such feel-good music. I'm so pumped up right now because those tracks are great, and of course, music from the Guess Who, and you were back, man, in a big way in 2015. We're going to talk all about that. But first up, I do need to mention your upcoming appearance. You'll be at the Ridgefield Playhouse in Connecticut on April 24th, 2015. Everyone out there can get their tickets right now. I'm sure they can see all the dates over at randybachman.com as well. And Randy, we've had several guests on the show who are alumni of Ringo Starr's All-Star Band, of which you are one too. The third All-Star Band had quite a lineup. What can you remember about that tour?
I can remember on the front end negotiating to try to get more money. And Ringo came on the phone. No, David Fishoff, who was also promoting the tour. And he said, believe me, when you get into this, you will say that you would have done it for nothing. And I'd like to go on record now to say that I would have done it for nothing.
Wow.
It was an amazing year of my life, fun rehearsals, touring the world, Japan, and all over the States, and to play with guys who I'd admired my whole life, Ringo Starr, John Entwistle, Mark Farner, Felix Cavaliere, Billy Preston. It was just the greatest band, and everyone took their turns doing their 2 or 3 songs, and together we did a lot of Beatles stuff, and it was I would have done it for nothing, honestly.
Yeah, what a who's who, and of course, Ringo couldn't put that band together again today because we've lost a couple of those members along the way.
Yeah.
But great stuff. Yeah, I mean, everybody who I've talked to there, Randy, says they've loved that experience. It's just so much fun, and Ringo really takes care of them, I understand.
Yeah, he's really a great guy.
Now, as mentioned, you're back right now. The project is called Bachman. It's a power trio, and the rhythm section this time is supplied by a different set of musicians for you, a little more estrogen fueled. Is that something different for you?
Totally different. I was urged by Neil Young. I told him I had a new record deal. He said, well, go do something totally different. Get a new band, get different guitars, get different amps, write different songs. This is your chance to recreate yourself like I do, because he does something different every 3 or 4 years, as does Madonna. And the long-living artists kind of reinvent themselves, and they lose some fans along the way, but they keep a lot, and they get some new ones. And it's them kind of growing up or growing old or whatever you want to call it, and the fans grow with them. So looking for something new to do, I went to see Tommy, the new Tommy, a year ago at Stratford, Ontario, where they have, the big acting festivals. And amazingly enough, I'm sitting behind Pete Townsend, who's flown in to see the new Tommy. And Des McCannis, who produced Tommy and BROUGH, was also there. He had produced this one. And Pete leans back and he says, the drummer's amazing, sounds like Keith Moon. And I lean back and I say, I think the drummer's a woman. The chick. He says, no, it can't be. Can't play like Keith Moon. and we look at the program. It says Dale Brendan. I said, I think it's Dale and Brendan. I think I know where I played a gig with her. So after Tommy, we go backstage and meet, and sure enough, it is Dale and Brendan. And Pete is just blown away, and I'm blown away, and so I start talking to her. I say, you remember I played with you a couple of years ago, and I got a chance to do a record deal. Do you want to do an album with me? You play such incredible power drums. I think we could do it with me and guitar, and you on drums will be like the White Stripes. And she goes, okay, I'm in. I want to tell my manager that. He says, well, you can't do a White Stripes thing. It's already been done, and you need to do another little twist. And at the same time, I see a country rock band of 4 chicks that are really tall and long, shaggy hair and flannel shirts and ripped jeans, and they play like Crazy Horse. And I go, wow, this is what I want. And I go and I talk to the bass player, whose name is Anna Ruddick. And I call her to a luncheon meeting, and I get her to meet me and Dale and Brendan, the drummer. They've never met before. And Anna shows up wearing a John Entwistle T-shirt. I say, wow, do you like John Entwistle? She said, well, he was my favorite bass player. I studied bass at McGill University. I could play stand-up jazz bass, which blew me away. I didn't know she could do that. And I play, electric bass in blues and rock and country bands. So I said, well, I want to do like late 60s power trio, because to me that was the third wave of music that changed the world. The first being Elvis, and then the Beatles, and then, the British blues, where they brought the blues back to America. And it was Clapton and Cream and The Who and Zeppelin and, all that kind of great power trio, Hendrix and stuff. So they say they're in. So I call a friend of mine who's into doing heavy rock, Kevin Shirley, who's done all Joe Bonamassa and a lot of the Zeppelin reissues and Aerosmith and Journey and Silverchair. He's done like a lot of heavy bands. He just did Iron Maiden's new album in Paris. And he says, yeah, I got 5 days. I'll fly in. So we cut this album in 5 days off the floor. I wrote a bunch of new blues songs. I wanted to pay tribute to a lot of my blues forefathers, like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. And when Kevin Shirley got here, he's the producer, he said, everybody's already done that. There's already a Jimmy Reed album done by Jimmy Vaughan and Omar, and everybody's done this. Why don't you just take these songs and write new ones? So I wrote new blues songs like it was the early 50s for me, and I was, just a 10-year-old kid at that time, or learning to play guitar. And out came these songs. Like, I wrote them overnight, went the next morning, played them a song. They said, great. Played it twice. Kevin said, that's a keeper. Got another song. Pulled out these songs, did 12 songs in 5 days, and he left.
So that is awesome. I mean, Kevin Shirley is at the top of the game right now. We're huge Joe Bonamassa fans. He's on the album. Randy, I'm going to jump up the questions I was saving for the back end on the new album. Since we're talking about it now, let's discuss the new Heavy Blues project a little bit further. Obviously, you've been working on it for quite some time now. You have a posthumous appearance by Jeff Healey on there. He passed away in 2008, so you've obviously been toying with this type of idea for some time.
Well, Jeff Healey was, one of Canada's great blues guys, and I would hang out with him. He would come to wherever I was and call me and say, come on down. I'd have dinner with him and his band. I'd go on stage and jam. Last time was in London at Islington Music Center. And then I had a chance to record live in Toronto, so I invited him down. It was me and him and Duke Robillard, 3 guitars, and we recorded live at Massey Hall, and they never got released. So when Joe Bonamassa jumped on board this album, and I asked Scott Holiday from Rival Sons, and he said he was aboard, I thought, wouldn't it be great to have Jeff Healey? And so I called Christy Healey, his widow, and I had done previously I'd just done a Jeff Healey tribute with Jack Bruce and Ian Gillan, and so we're all on stage, and I'm playing Smoke on the Water with these guys, and Sunshine of Your Love, and I'm in my glory, and it's a tribute to raise money for Jeff Healey's Playground here in Toronto. And so she said, yeah, Jeff would love to be on this album. So I said, okay. I went and got a track called Early in the Morning, which is a B.B. King song. It was one of B.B. King's signature songs that Jeff Healey always used to do. And so I took his guitar from that live track, and I took the same beats per minute. I wrote a song called Confessing to the Devil, which is a very Bo Diddley beat, so it'd all be in the same chord. And I flew Jeff's licks in, and he plays very B.B. King in that track, and it fits as if he was in the room. I'm so thrilled with that. And then once I got that, it was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I went and played the Guitar Circus in August at the Hollywood Bowl with Frampton and Robert Randolph, and asked them both to be on the album. And they said they would be in. And then I mentioned it to Neil Young, and he was in. And so suddenly, blam, I got these 7 incredible soloists, each playing a solo in a different song that gives it such more life, because me and the girls are in there just pumping and pumping and pumping away, and in come these other great guitar solos that provide such a contrast and such an exciting moment. It's amazing. And we're making all these tracks available in the album, but you can also go to my website and download them free without the solos, so you can play your own solos. For your guitar player, kid out there, anybody, you can go get these songs for free and play your own solo and send it to the radio station. When I'm playing in your town, we're going to pick a winner in every town who's going to come out, play that solo with me on stage, play Taking Care of Business, and win a Gibson Epiphone Les Paul guitar.
Randy Bachman's on the phone with us, the rock legend, RandyBachman.com. The brand new album out is Heavy Blues. And Randy, you got me all over the place here. I'm jumping questions because, as we discussed, Heavy Blues is such a great album. It's an all-star lineup for you. As you mentioned, Joe Bonamassa, Neil Young, Robert Randolph, Jeff Healey, Peter Frampton, and others on the album. It sounds so good. I spent the morning listening to it. But I wanted to, mention to you about Taking Care of Business. That album early on that song early on must have inspired a generation of musicians. Just from the line in there alone, it's easy as fish, and you can be a musician if you get in the right bunch of fellas. I got to tell you, it made me want to be a rock star. And the equipment manufacturers, in addition to songwriting royalties, you got to be getting something on the back end for just selling a bunch of equipment.
Well, I get the joy of knowing that song resonates with a lot of people all over the world. A lot of those lyrics are tongue-in-cheek, because when I'd say to my father, and he'd say, get a real job, and I'd say, well, I want to be a musician. He'd say, well, you like to work at nothing all day. I mean, that's what my dad perceived I did. It's as easy as fishing, being a musician. You work at nothing all day, but when you're a musician, you're working all day long, music in your head all the time. You're either making up licks or you know what I mean? You're trying to remember them, and you're trying to, well, it's just on your mind. Music's on your mind all the time. So they are very descriptive lyrics, but they're also kind of tongue-in-cheek.
Right, but with the new downloadable songs where people can get in there and put on their own guitar parts, you're still putting that out there. You're still offering that idea and that opportunity and that dream. You're keeping that dream alive for a whole new generation. So, congrats on that, Randy. That's really cool.
Thank you. I'm hoping that all the guitar players out there, doesn't matter if they're 7 or 70, buy the album, listen to Neil Young or Frampton or Jeff Healey solo and go, I can do better than that, and go get the free download, put it in their computer, do an iTube of it, put it up on YouTube, and show the world that they can play. And like I said, when we're coming to that town, we're going to now in on those people, and they'll get to come on stage with me, get a guitar and play on stage and play TCB and whatever solo they choose to pick from the album.
The great Randy Bachman is on the phone with us of Guess Who fame, Bachman Turner Overdrive fame. Randy, I got a bunch of questions here, so I'm going to try to get to as many of them as quick as possible. Keeping on the theme of the new album, I think through a couple of your songs we get a glimpse into a little bit of your personal philosophy. Starting with BTO, you had a song called "Looking Out for Number One." Is that an idea that you held on to over the years?
Yes, I firmly believe that we need to help our fellow man in every way possible. But if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. When you're on an airplane and they say, oh, by the way, when the oxygen masks drop down, put it on yourself first, then do the person or the child next to you. Because if you're trying to do them, you're going to pass out. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You got to look after yourself first, then you can look after everybody else. And when you're really feeling down and low, one of the best things to do is to look in the mirror. And it's very hard to do. I went through a whole course to do this. And I'll tell everybody to do this. It's pretty amazing. Go in the dark into your bathroom, because it's a nice little quiet room with a mirror. Kneel down in the dark, light a candle, so all you can see is the candle in your face. Look into your own eyes and say, I love you 10 times to yourself. Not many people say that. They all don't like themselves.
Yeah.
It's an amazing transformation. And once you do that and you like yourself and love yourself, you go out and love everybody else. It's amazing, and you can help everybody else. So I always say that you got to keep looking out for number one. I mean you, I mean me, I mean us. Let's look out for number one.
Yeah.
And that means us. It means your family. It means our country. It means the world.
Because a lot of people oftentimes want to put on people, individuals, myself, I know, that, you shouldn't look out for number one. You should be taking care of everybody else before you. You know, you should do the selfless thing. And to me, that philosophy seems kind of skewed. So I've come definitely around. It's taken me 50 years to get to that point where, you know, I don't know how much time I have left, but the time that I do have left, I'm going to put to myself first, because as you said, you know, the only way I can help other people is if I'm in a good frame of mind, if I'm in a good place.
Yes, because if you're not in a good frame of mind, other people's downs will bring you down. I just listened to a radio show, and I saw it on TV, about people who are in public service. I'm talking about firemen and policemen who all have work stress disorders because they're dealing with people who are killing each other and in fires or in accidents and murdering each other, and they come home and they don't know what to do. And because they end up themselves becoming drunks and addicts because they can't handle it. But on their own, if they can take care of themselves, you can go out and deal with other people's traumas and don't let it affect you personally. So you basically, it's almost a double-edged sword, but you can't be a caregiver unless you care for yourself, because you're going to fall apart, and everyone who's depending on you is going to be left high and dry. So you've got to look after number one.
Okay, keeping in line with the idea of Randy Bachman's personal philosophy, on the new album, there's a song called Learn to Fly, where you talk about the importance of living in the now, which is kind of a similar idea, but it's also an idea that's very much in vogue right now. What's that idea mean to you?
Well, I was in London, and with my kids, this is like a year ago, while I was thinking of this album, one of them brought home a purse. And on the purse it said, "Learn to fly, fly away." And I go, wow, that's incredible. That really means a lot. Like, it's like empowering, right?
Right.
And I just thought it was really quite an incredible thing. And I've heard it said before. In fact, I just saw it on TV yesterday. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. All we got is today. And I think, wow, that's so true. I've had a lot of friends. I've never done drugs or alcohol. I've been sober all my life. But I've had a lot of friends that have had addiction problems. So I've gone to NA and AA meetings with them just to see what it's like and to sympathize with them and try to help them through it and kind of be like a sponsor. And they preach the same thing. Tomorrow's gone. Tomorrow's a mystery. It's today. So live for today. And guess what? When you wake up tomorrow, live for today, which is like tomorrow. Today's yesterday's tomorrow, that kind of thing. So you just live day by day by day by day. Look after yourself. Keep looking after yourself. And it's just like one day at a time. And with the way the world's going now, there are so many wars going on. There's so many weird climate changes. We're in a kind of an apocalyptic period, and nobody knows what tomorrow is. All we can do is do our best today. And I don't mean go out and have a party. I mean, do your best to feel good, stay alive, love someone, get love back, and realize why we're here on this earth. It's not to have war and kill each other and fight over gasoline and who's the biggest leader and who's got the biggest stick. It's just to live on this earth as long as happily as we can. Right,
Randy. Randy Bachman is on the phone with us right now. RandyBachman.com. The new album is Heavy Blues. It's an honor and pleasure to talk to you, Randy. I love getting these type of, this type of feedback, because it means so much to me, and it's great to know that there's a lot more depth to the rock and rollers out there than might actually be seen to the naked eye. In the 1970s, you put out American Woman by the Guess Who. It was a song written by the whole band. That track did critique the ghetto scenes and the war machines of the United States. Are you surprised that 45 years later, not really much has changed in the world?
No, that song is still relevant today. Nothing has changed. I remember when 9/11 happened, I was in New York City with the Guess Who, and I was back with them. We were touring, and Joe Cocker was their opening act. Well, our gig got canceled that night, but the next night we had to play Boston, and we were considering not playing American Woman. And they said, no, you got to go out and play it. It's a patriotic song. We said, well, it's an anti-war song. They said, you got to go out and play it. And then other people were emailing us or on the internet saying, you should change it to different kind of woman, not American Woman, but foreign woman, stay away from me kind of thing. And I said, no, that's not the song. We're not going to change the lyrics or rewrite the lyrics. It is what it is. But the song is still relevant today. America's been at war for 150 years with somebody or other, and it's this colonization. And so has England. I mean, it's so really weird how these world powers, who supposedly are they wage war to have peace. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I wish they'd give us a break. I'm pretty much damn sick of it myself at this point. Now, let me change the subject matter really quickly, Randy. In 1996, I had the pleasure of attending the CFL Grey Cup in Hamilton, Ontario, and I was overcome by the passion and the national pride on display during the playing of Canada's national anthem. I know you with your buddy Fred Turner got to play the halftime show in 2010. What can you say about the CFL that would convince an American football fan that there's something really special happening up there north of the border?
Well, it's there's something different about Canadian football. You get 3 chances for your first down, so there's one less chance, so you got to be better. You got to take more chances. I don't want to get into the rules of football, but there's just a certain pride in Canadian football, as there is in hockey. If you look at most of the American teams, they're all Canadians, right? They're Canadian, Russian, or from Finland or something. There's not a lot of Native Americans, unless they're from northern USA, like Buffalo or Rochester, which is pretty near Canada. You kind of need the winter to kind of give you that feel. As a kid growing up, you go and skate in the street. You flood your yard with a garden hose and you go and skate. Everybody learns to skate when they're 2 or 3 years of age, so it's kind of part in our blood. So thinking about hockey and football, that's really part of Canadian. And our season here is so short. From October on, the guys are playing in snow.
Yeah. Oh, well, that Grey Cup, me and my brother drove up from Rochester, New York in a snowstorm, and we had to leave at halftime because the snow wouldn't stop falling. It was a great time, though. I got to see Doug Flutie, who was, I dug his style of play in a big way. Let me ask you about another event that you were a part of. In 2005, you got to play on the Canadian leg of Live 8. What did that experience mean to you? And have you heard any type of word if Bob's going to pull something out for the 40th in 2015?
No, I haven't heard anything, but I was very fortunate to play Live Aid and also to play SARS Fest with the Stones and AC/DC, and I was with the Guess Who at the time. We had reformed. And that was a real world flag, a Canadian waving a world flag there that said to the world, Canada's back. We're part of the brotherhood of man, and love peace, and let's send help and love and food everywhere in the world, and let's send money, and let's help out the less fortunate, because here in the United States and Canada, we are very, very blessed. People don't realize it, even though they stay at home and complain. If they travel the world like me and other musicians, and you go to other countries and other cities, and you see what their police force is like, and when you turn on the tap, what comes out of your tap that you have to drink, and what the streets are like, how unsafe they are, what the hospitals are like. We live in paradise. No matter how bad people are living here and what welfare conditions they're in, or how bad it is paradisical compared to 85%, 90% of the rest of the world.
Right. I often feel blessed. I mean, to be living in America, but also in the period of time, it's really only in the last 50 some odd years that, we've lived in this level of luxury and convenience that, people prior to us didn't really have, at least, from, the Middle Ages on. So it is an interesting thing. I'm only going to ask you one more, Randy, because I know you've got a big day of interviews. The new album is Heavy Blues. That's dropping on April 15th. Randy's coming to town with his Power Trio on April 24th. He'll be at the Ridgefield Playhouse in Ridgefield, Connecticut. You can get tickets over at randybachman.com. Follow all those links that you need to follow. The new album sounds great. And Randy, I read that you had an encounter early on with a local legend. He used to ply his trade about 8 miles up the road from where I'm sitting right now, the great Les Paul. And as a young man, you had a ticket to see him, but you couldn't get into the show, but you still had an experience with him.
That's amazing you know that story. I was a teenager. Les Paul was all over the radio with How High the Moon and all his other hits, Lover and things like that. I was just learning guitar, so I was into Chet Atkins and Les Paul and Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry and things like that. So I got on my bus. I got on a bus because I didn't have a car. I was too young. And went to the other side of Winnipeg, which is quite a bus ride. It's like an hour-and-a-half ride. And so I get there at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and the club isn't even open. It doesn't even open until 6. So I'm sitting there waiting, and the club owner comes, and he says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I came to see Les Paul." He said, "How old are you?" I said, 16. He said, "Well, you can't get in. The drinking age here is 21. You can't even get in. So you might as well go home." So I'm waiting out front of the club at the bus stop to go home, and I'm like looking down. I'm sitting down cross-legged on the grass in front of a tree, and a big Cadillac pulls up. And he says, "Hi, kid, what's the matter?" I look, and it's Les Paul. And in the front seat with him is Mary Ford, and in the back is his son. I think his name was Gene. He was the drummer. And I said, "I came to see you tonight, but I can't get in. I'm too young." He said, "Come with me. Help me carry in these drums." His son Gene was playing drums. So I helped carry in the drums, and he said to the club owner, "This guy's helping us out. I want him to stand in the kitchen beside my gear." So in the kitchen, he had 4 or 5 single-track Ampex tape recorders that he triggered with his guitar called the Les Pulverizer that turned off and on the different tracks. He'd play rhythm on one track and then wind it up and play it back and then play lead to it. And he showed everybody in the audience at this nightclub how he created his music. So I stood there for an hour and a half with these big glass doors swinging with big round windows, and we're waiters for going back to where with Trace, because it was a supper club. They were serving dinner and drinks, but I couldn't go out where the drinks were served. So I saw the back of Les Paul and Mary Ford for an hour and a half. Which was amazing. And then he came back after I was wiping his brow, and he said, "Here, hold this, kid." And he handed me his guitar to hold, and he patted his brow with a napkin. He went out and did his encores. I helped him load up his car. And that was it. And I said, "Show me a lick." So he showed me a lick in How High the Moon. And fast forward a zillion years to I'm opening for Van Halen with BTO in New York at the New Jersey at the Meadowlands Coliseum. And Les Paul comes in to see Eddie Van Halen and Sammy Hagar, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Do I know you?" I said, "Mr. Paul, I saw you at the Rancho Don Carlos." And he looks at me and he goes, "Hold this, kid." He said, "You're the guy who held my guitar." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Can you still play the lick?" So I took the guitar and played the lick. It was amazing. And then fast forward a few more years, it was 9/11. I was in New York playing, and we had the night off. We went to the Iridium Club and saw Les Paul. He said, "There's a friend of mine in the audience," and I'm sitting there wondering who it is. And then he calls me up on stage. And he said, "We're going to play How High the Moon." And I taught this kid this lick when he was 16, which is about, 50 years ago or 40 years ago. And I play the How High the Moon with him, and then he says, "Let's do one of yours." So I do Taking Care of Business, and he backs me up. And then he invited me to his place in Maupon, New Jersey the next day, and the next day was 9/11. The tower was hit, and all the bridges were closed. I never went out to see him. I never saw him since then, and then he passed away. So that's my Les Paul. So I have great memories of this guy. He was wonderful.
Wow, Randy, that's amazing. Yeah, we have some memories of Les too, and Les was like that. Les was like that as a young man himself. He had to put himself out there in some positions to get in front of some very significant people, which opened some doors and made all the breaks possible for him. So, he's an amazing inspiration. You, sir, are an amazing inspiration, and I'd love to have you back on maybe in a couple months when the album drops, because I still have a stack of questions, but I know you got a gauntlet that you're doing today.
Yeah, call me back. Let's get together in a month or so.
Yeah, Randy, we will. We'll have a part 2. I can't wait.
Good. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show, part of the SoundPress.net radio network. Remember, if you're a band or artist looking for promotion, or if you'd like to sponsor this show or add this program to your station, please get in touch with us today at SoundPress.net.